Now this is interesting. Once again, JP Morgan, the bank, in the spotlight. Rats are jumping ship left and right. I mean, if something big isn't coming down the line sometime in the near future in regards to the big banks not getting their way anymore, maybe they're going to break them up into smaller pieces, or the fines are going to be so huge that they can't survive. Something's happening, because why else are all these people jumping ship? Here's a prime example from yesterday. A likely heir is leaving JP Morgan Chase. This guy was supposed to take over JP Morgan Chase. He's next in line. People referred to him as a, quote, lifer. You know, been in the company the rest of his life, been there forever, and never plans on leaving. Considered a likely heir to Jamie Dimon, the bank's 58-year-old chief executive, Michael J. Kavanagh, announced on Tuesday that he would resign as JP Morgan co-head of investment banking to take on the role of co-chief operating officer at where? The Carlyle Group. Some of you may say, okay, what the hell is that? Others may say, oh, the Carlyle Group. And the Carlyle Group is George Bush Sr.'s, Papa Bush, New World Order Bush. That's basically his company. He's a huge part of that company. It's a private equity, some type of investment firm, naturally. And he's going to go run over there. So, there's not a chance in hell you're going to find this guy waking up dead, suicided, rope, like the rest of them. No. He went and got a job with Papa Bush, New World Order extraordinaire. No. This guy is safe. His decision to give up a chance at eventually running JP Morgan signals how running a large bank has become less attractive, considering the regulatory hurdles and heightened scrutiny that have dogged Wall Street since the aftermath of the financial crisis. While it is not uncommon for bank executives to leave for other jobs, at least 10 senior executives have left JP Morgan in the last 2 years. Again, why are they leaving? You don't leave a cash cow to go somewhere else. Believe me, the Carlyle Group is not making the kind of money JP Morgan has made over all these years. Yeah, they make some money, but not JP Morgan money. They don't have $20 billion set aside to just settle little lawsuits and financial regulation charges that, you know, here's $20 billion, go F yourself, you know, is what they're telling them. So, why do you leave? Because you, as a top dog executive, know exactly what's coming down the pike for your company, and you need to jump ship while you can. And this is the part where, while you can. And this is a prime example, because anyone could argue and say, well, it's just a sub-executive. I've never heard of the guy, sub-executive level, not even executive, management level, in charge of some department. Sure, maybe he got a better offer, right? You could say that. Even if the other 10 that left, right, you might be able to tell them, you know, well, I know 10 left in 2 years, senior executive level, but you try to make an argument. But this guy, this was the guy next in line, literally next in line to run JP Morgan after Jamie Dimon. In a company-wide memo, Jamie Dimon wrote, quote, "This is a regrettable loss for our company, as Mike has been a part of the fabric of our organization for the last 14 years. Right, so he can get out now. I don't work there anymore. He's going to pull a John Corzine. Remember that? MF Global. Sir, did you authorize the taking money from your customer's allocated account? Listen, Congress, I'd love to help you right now, but I've already stepped down from that company since this happened, and I'd like to help you, but I have no longer any access to any kind of information, private, personal, inside the company or elsewhere. So I can't comment, but I do not believe that I don't recall authorizing that. But I can't look at any emails either to see if someone sent me an email to authorize that, because I don't work there anymore. And we accepted it. Oh, the Honorable John Corzine. Really, that's pretty honorable, isn't it? Stealing people's money out of allocated accounts, which are supposedly non-touchable. And right before they're getting ready to rule on that, or him go to court about it, another breaking case comes out of New York that's been going on for 2 years, where the judge said no, allocated accounts can in fact be taken by the company and used. And then shortly after that, another judge overruled that ruling and said no, nice try, working for the club, you can't do that. The other guy was working for the club. Allocated account is allocated account. That's like you have one key, your money's there, they're not allowed to touch it. So no, that ruling is null and void, which was good. So then after that, it appeared that somehow magically the people that were losing and missing all this money from the MF Global scandal got, I guess, most of it back somehow. And that includes Gerald Celente. So let's see what else we got here. Investment banking is going through incredible change right now and faces increasing competition, said Peter Nerby, a banking analyst with Moody's Investors Service. If intellectual capital starts getting drained out of the industry, that is something we will be paying attention to. Perhaps more than most bank executives, Mr. Kavanaugh has had a front row seat into the regulatory headwinds battering J.P. Morgan and the broader industry. Now 48 years old, Mr. Kavanaugh has been with the bank through some of its toughest periods. He was chief financial officer and then its head of Treasury Securities Services through the 2008 financial crisis. But it was his role at the helm of an international investigation into the bank's big London whale trading fiasco that was a huge loss that may have offered him the clearest picture of the grim realities facing the industry. Since the trading loss stemming from a soured bet on complex financial contracts, no, you don't have to say that, just call them what they are, derivative time bombs, was the first unearthed by the bank in May of 2012. JP Morgan, once a favorite in Washington, has since seen its reputation tarnished and its chief executive under intense scrutiny. Last year, JP Morgan paid nearly $20 billion to settle several investigations into the trading losses and other issues, like the sale of questionable mortgage securities in the lead-up to the financial crisis. So this guy was right in the mix, right? This guy was right in there during the 2008 financial crisis. He also was head deep in the London whale bet. Remember that? Nasty derivatives products have that nasty habit of blowing up in your face sometimes. And considering the entire world, banks, especially the too big to fail banks, are absolutely, unbelievably upside down in derivatives contracts, which at some point in time have to be paid, so to speak, pay the piper. And they can't be, they won't be. All they are is bets on a bet. That's all a derivative is. It's a bet on another financial instrument. It's a bet on how another financial instrument will do, how well it will do. So if they don't do well, it's multiplied many times over. So it's literally like a futures contract, but not on the COMEX market where you're basically getting leverage 10 to 1 on, you know, corn or wheat or cotton or gold or silver, and they give you 10 to 1, you know, not odds, but you come up with 1% or 10% of the money. They front you the other 90%, excuse me, of the money to play the game. But you're leveraged 10 to 1. So anytime that item moves up, you know, 10 cents or 20 cents, it's like it went up 10 times that amount. So naturally, you just sell the contract, take the cash, sit on it for a little while, go get another contract, do the same thing, right? And you want to try to time it so that you're making money that when the price is going up, not down. Well, derivatives contracts are similar in that they're pretty much leveraged, probably so much more than the futures market and COMEX, just due to the fact that when you add up how many derivatives are out there, the amount of money, they're in the hundreds of trillions of dollars. Some people have said over 1,000 trillion, which would be a quadrillion dollars. Forget that. How about 500 trillion? Let's just go with that number, okay? Half of what they say it could be. There's not enough things, money, whatever, in the world for $500 trillion. That money doesn't even exist if you add up all the world's money. So how does all these people all of a sudden have these things, right? Whatever that might be. In this case, these derivatives contracts that equal $500 trillion. How you could set the price of every house in the world to something. You know, because when you built the house, it costs labor to build the house. Then it goes up normally, slowly in value. I say normally because right now the market's been sucking forever. But even if you add all that in, you don't come anywhere near, with the entire world included, $500 trillion. I mean, literally. There's just nothing. No, there's no way. But yet somehow these financial instruments known as derivatives have equaled, I guarantee, over $500 trillion. And all these banks are holding on to them. And you can check out each bank and figure out which one's into what, you know, how much. JP Morgan's like $70 trillion in, you know, derivatives. And there's a bank right over here that's not even wasn't even really a too big to fail bank. PNC Bank. PNC Bank is in the trillions of dollars in derivatives. And they're not even too big to fail. I don't know if, you know, tell you the truth, I don't know if they got any part of the bailout, but they're certainly not the top, you know, 5 or 7 banks that we always hear about that are the too big to fails. I've never heard of PNC, and believe me, there's other smaller banks too, or medium-sized banks. It's not just the too big to fails. Somehow they all got involved in this, and it's like once you get in, there's no way out. Once you're holding these derivatives, it's like there's just no way out. So they try to, you know, balloon up their balance sheets to look like they've got all these tons of assets, but again, even on the books, the assets that these banks are claiming that they have, which could be a house that's been boarded up, foreclosed, is worth, you know, $1,000, that they're claiming is worth, you know, $120,000 still on their books. Even if you look at their books with those ridiculous numbers, right? It doesn't come out to $70 trillion, for example, for JP Morgan. It doesn't. So all that has to go somewhere, and it has to blow up somewhere sooner or later. So when I see this guy jumping ship and the other guy jumping ship and 10 others, high-level executives at JP Morgan jumping ship, do you think by chance that they're well aware of this derivative time bomb, since they're head deep in them, know how this is going to end, and want to be long gone away from this company by the time it happens? It could be out 2 years. It could be out a year. It could be out months. I mean, nobody knows but these insiders. That's the only people who know. And nobody like them is exactly talking to let the rest of us know when that might happen. The only person that could, if he was given the information, would be Lindsey Williams. But his oil executive sometimes doesn't give him that kind of information. Sometimes he does. So if you'll recall, he said in around end of November, early December, that approximately 3 months they're going to start this unwinding of the economy, right? He said it's not going to be the big crash, but there's going to be currency issues, devaluations, things like that end up leading to them making this announcement that we have to devalue our dollar, and we have to go with the IMF and revaluating all of our dollars across the world. And there's 204 other countries that have already agreed with the IMF that they'll be part of it, including us too, that whatever the IMF says, here's what your dollar's worth based on your assets that we've determined it's worth, here's what your dollar's worth now. Now granted, January, right, or technically December, or did he talk about, was it January, February, March? I don't remember. Let's just call it March, end of March. We're there now. January to February, February to March is 2 months, but I thought he was including December too. Not sure. Bottom line is, any day now is when something like this should be happening. Now, if you look at these other countries, what happens, for example, Venezuela, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, their dollar was literally devalued 80-something%. Purchasing power dropped 80-something% the other day. You still had the crisis in not Venezuela. What was the other one? Argentina. Their dollar's been devalued so heavily, it's unbelievable. You have other countries doing the same thing, having the same thing happening to them, and then telling their people it is illegal. Matter of fact, look at Argentina and possibly Venezuela, who are saying it's now illegal for you to try to even get other currencies in here. Like, you can't go and get US dollars or some other dollar and then open a bank account here with those dollars in it. It's now illegal. You can't do that. You can only deal with our currency, and that's it. So again, this is one of those prime reasons that having something like Bitcoin or Litecoin, one of these currencies, cryptocurrencies, comes in handy, because those are the things that even in Venezuela, right? We make it legal for you to import American dollars and put them in a bank account. That could be difficult, because if someone's shipping them to you, maybe you know someone in America, or you found a place in America that's gonna do a currency conversion for you. They still got to ship it into you, right? At the same time, most people say, well, just wire it to me. Well, that's not illegal. The banks won't even do it. And if you get the cash, you can't take it to the bank, because the banks are going to say, no, this is illegal. We can't do it. So you got to sit on the cash at your house, but then you got to have it mailed to you overseas internationally, which is not safe, right? So there's all these things that are going to start making people say, man, I can't do that. But if you had something like Bitcoin or Litecoin or whatever, you just get on your computer and do it. I mean, you can go to any exchange that's available right now, go on there, literally buy them in your country's currency, and sit on them. And as your dollar gets devalued more and more, you have these Bitcoins that you can use some way or another, reconvert them back somehow, because if you reconvert them back, let's say your currency got devalued 4 times its value, and you had some Bitcoins that you bought before the currency devaluation took place. Well, priced in US dollars, right? Our dollar hasn't done anything, right? Since we control the whole damn world anyways with our monetary system, our dollar seems to be withstanding everything. Our dollar is perfect. Not for long, but it is. Meanwhile, these other countries are experiencing all these problems. So, had you bought some Bitcoin, right, at whatever price, and then your currency gets devalued, you just go back on the exchange and then sell those Bitcoin, let's say in American dollars, and then convert them back to your country's currency. But I'm sure you could probably do that on the exchange. You don't have to actually take American dollars. I'm sure on the exchange, they probably have your currency of choice. You just pick, Venezuelan currency or whatever, and you would be getting 4 times the amount back, so to speak, because your currency just got devalued 4 times. This is the kind of thing that can make the case for cryptocurrencies. These things do have the ability to save your financial livelihood. However, if I'm going to have a choice, I'm going with gold and silver, because once again, we set the price on gold and silver on our stock market every day. So the same thing would apply if someone in Venezuela or Argentina bought gold and silver a few months ago, sat on it, it didn't really go anywhere, right? Let's just say it hasn't moved, and now their currency just got devalued, slam dunk, bam, that hurt bad. Oh, but that's all right, I've got gold. Now gold is twice as much money in my own country's currency than it was 2 months ago. So they can go peddle the gold, so to speak, somewhere. Someone's going to buy that gold. I remember reading a guy's blog. His name was Fairfal, F-E-R-F-A-L. Look it up, Fairfal Blogspot. He's got a blogspot.com blog where I've been following this guy for years. I haven't spent a lot of time in recent times reading what he wrote, but I did a while back. And he laid out what happened in the 2000-2001 currency crisis in Argentina, and explained what he saw with his own eyes, things that happened that he physically saw and experienced himself. And one of the things he said is absolutely having gold and silver is a huge benefit. And now they're re-experiencing that same crisis as we speak. So several years later, decade technically later, they're back into it. And that went on for a few years, by the way. It kind of settled down, kind of leveled out, and then now, wham, it's right back again. So we didn't hear much about it because we had 9/11 to deal with, actually. It wasn't the year 2000. It was actually 2001, and it was immediately after 9/11 happened. They had their little dollar currency crisis over in Argentina, but no one even knew or cared because we were all focused on 9/11. Which reminds me, I have a video to do that's very important, in which a couple of 2 or 3 congressmen, actually I believe it's 3 of them, when the 9/11 Commission report came out, they classified 28 pages. Top secret, no one's going to read these. No one knows what was on those pages. And these 3 congressmen did what they're allowed to do and apply for access to read them. So they were approved. They went in a secure room somewhere, read the stuff, came back out. And one of their comments was that they were like devastated, shocked, and mentioned something like, if we can't tell the American people this as a country, we can't move forward as a country. The American people who have lost their lives and loved ones in that incident deserve to know what's on these 28 pages. And after we read them, we're going to put a law, we're putting a bill out there that we need the Congress to get behind to pass, which is basically declassifying those 28 pages. That's what the bill is going to do. So contact every one of your congressmen and tell them they need to pass this. And if not, go get the request done so that you can go read what we read. And they could not elaborate on what those 28 pages said. Although I think we all have a good idea of how it's going to rewrite the official story of 9/11, which us conspiracy theorists have been screaming for years. So I can't wait to see what happens with that. Take care. And I'll have to do a little separate video on that. Take care.